go to Copenhagen. So, got 3 days, 3.5 days actually, in the Danish capital city. And in those 3.5 days, I'm going to be taking you guys to 5 different bars and breweries in Copenhagen.
Bye.
Bye. So the goal of this trip is just to give you guys an overview of the beer in Copenhagen. So welcome to Copenhagen. First up is a well-known craft beer from Copenhagen, Saigon Export. Lager style with quite a bit of sweetness and a strong hint of rice. Alright, so that first beer, that was kind of a joke. I was hungry and I needed something to eat, and so I grabbed a beer at the Vietnamese restaurant where I ate. But now we have made our way to Oersted Øl Bar here in Copenhagen. It's a beer bar that was recommended to me by the internet, and we are drinking a black IPA from Flying Couch Brewery here in Denmark. Let's try it out. Not bad. It tastes like an IPA. I think black IPAs are actually really cool because they have to use dark malts in the beer and the wort to get the dark color. However, they don't really like come through really strong like a stout or a porter. So this is really citrusy, really fruity, really hoppy, bitter IPA. It's quite good. This is beer 1 of ? Actually, Mike, that was beer number 3, and if we take this long for every beer, we're going to be here all day. So, Oersted Øl Bar has 20 beers on tap, which rotate over 150 bottles. Check out what they got back there in the fridge. Very nice. And while I was there, I also tried a Foxy Brown from Ugly Duckling and a Mango Lassie Heathen from Northern Monk. Smooth, fruity New England IPA, which is really good. Alrighty, so today is the first full day in Copenhagen. It is really cold and really windy outside, and we're going to be checking out 2 or 3 different places, the first of which is BRUS, as you can see up over there. And let's go inside and check it out because it is, like I said, really cold and really windy. So, we are inside BRUS at the moment. One cool thing that they have every last Sunday of the month is a hangover brunch. So, got a menu here. It's filled out. Let's get some food first, huh? Brunch, let's actually talk about this place. BRUS, Danish for suds, the Danish brewery 2 Øl, opened up the BrewPub back in the summer of 2016, offer fresh and delicious tasting food and beer in a comfortable and chill, family-friendly atmosphere. Alright, so food's arrived. Got the breakfast bun and a Bloody Mary. I know Bloody Marys aren't actually beer. We're gonna get to beer in a second. Let's try this puppy out here, huh? Speaking of food, BRUS specializes in what they call fancy bar food. Their menu rotates so you never know what they might have, but they use a lot of Asian influence in their dishes, and you can guarantee that everything was made fresh and with a twist. No boring stuff here, that's for sure. So there's some kind of a spicy sauce in here. It's actually really good. All with like really fresh ingredients. I saw them preparing it as I was ordering, and like everything fresh, handmade, really good. Well, that's breakfast done. Let's go check out the rest of the place and see what else they have in store. Well, the rest in store is beer and cocktails. There's 24 beers on tap and 8 pre-mixed cocktails on tap, which makes life as a bartender pretty easy. What also makes their job easy are these 6 huge holding tanks, which means no keg changes. for those 6 beers at least. Fewer kegs also means less movement of the beer, which results in a fresher, more homogeneous beer for you and me. While I was there, the beer menu was mostly full of American-style ales, but that rotates as well. I tried the Wheat Every Day, an American wheat ale, which was quite hoppy and bitter and was leaning more towards a New England IPA style. I also had an Instant Crush, which is a refreshing and fruity, hazy American pale ale. So we just have BRUS, which is owned and operated by 2O, one of the bigger craft beer breweries here in Copenhagen. And now we're going to head out to another place owned by Mikkeller and friends. So let's go ahead inside. It's still really cold and really windy. Why can't I go review coffee or something like that? Mikkeller and Friends, the Friends being 2 a collaboration bar between the 2 breweries and the second of multiple Mikkeller bars to open in Copenhagen. 40 taps which rotate over 1,300 recipes, and this bar that was created to make craft beer accessible to everyone. A bright and welcoming decor is more cafe than bar and caters to both men and women equally. Alrighty, so the first beer here at Mikkeller is their pale ale. Very pale in color. Let's try it out, huh? Very light, very refreshing. A little bit of hoppiness to it. It's a very easy drinking beer, that's for sure. I also had a Beer Geek Flat White, which I forgot to get footage of. I also had tasters of the Vespero Pils, hoppy and slightly sweet, Chipotle Porter, medium heat, no sweetness, and a slight roasted coffee flavor, a Spontan Blueberry, a Blueberry Lambic, which had only a slight sweetness and was very quite mellow, and a Norboro Spontan Ale, a Lambic, which both smelled and drank like a white wine. Speaking of Lambics, let's head to our next bar, Koelschip. Alright, so now we're in Koelschip, which is like the neighbor bar of Mikkeller and Friends. It's also owned by Mikkeller, as you can see by the glass here. It's essentially a bar where the brewer of Mikkeller opened up to do whatever the hell he wanted. So he's a really big Lambic beer enthusiast, which is a Belgian style of spontaneous fermenting beers. And this beer was given to me by Danish, the bartender, who is accordingly the Lambic expert of the world. The Lambic expert of the world. And this is, by a country mile, the best beer that they have on tap. So I have 44 taps. This is supposed to be the best one, so let's try it out. So for Lambic, this is pretty delicious. So Lambics are usually really sour. This one is not overly sour, right? It has a really nice, refreshing base to it. It's not overly sour, not overly sweet, not overly bitter. It's really nice and refreshing beer. Not bad. I also enjoy the other 3 beers on tap, a 2-year unblended Old Lambic Fodder number 85 from Brewery Bonn, a Frambosa from Brewery Old Biersel, and a Zina beer from Brasserie de la Zena, which wasn't actually a Lambic but a blonde Belgian, so I guess it's okay. Because Koelschip is all about recreating a typical Belgian-style bar with an old cozy decor, as well as over 700 different bottles, many coming from Mikkeller's own private collection, including this oldest dirt bottle, which is assumed to date back before the 1960s.
Anywhere between 1957 and 1962. We know that we have records of the brewery going bankrupt in 1962 and fully ceasing production.
Alright, so that was Mikkeller and Friends as well as Koelschip. Yeah, as you can see, it's quite dark out right now, and that means I spent way much more time there than I actually was planning on and what I actually needed to, but definitely worth it. Check them out. And I ended off the night at Himmerget, where I enjoyed a Hazy Days from Lervig and a Gotlandsdrykke, a smoked beer from Jester King Brewery. And then they walked in. Today, ladies and gentlemen, going up to the Carlsberg Brewery to check that out. So let's go do it. It's a pretty cold day today in Copenhagen, at least it's not as windy. So yesterday was a really cool day. It was like the day of the sour beers. It kind of opened up my eyes on a couple of things. Let's see what today has in store. I'm excited. Carlsberg, a jumbo multinational $9.5 billion earning beverage corporation. What are they doing on my channel? Well, there's a couple of reasons. Reason number one is that, well, they're in Copenhagen, and so am I. Number two, without the saturation of Carlsberg in the Copenhagen market, other smaller brewers like Mikkeller and Turo would probably have never sought to compete, and the craft beer scene in Copenhagen would probably not be as lively as it is today. Reason number three is that there's actually quite a bit to see and do here. And reason number whatever, although Carlsberg isn't brewed on site anymore, they actually do have a craft beer brewery and, well, yeah. So it smells of roasting barley at the moment, and that is because I am at the Jacobsen brew house, which is kind of like Carlsberg attempt at a craft beer brewery. So let's go up there and see what they have in store, huh? Hello everyone, welcome back to another Bierlee beer review. This is the Jacobsen edition here at the Carlsberg Brewery. Drinking the Christmas ale, and I hate myself for actually even having to try this because that means Christmas and cold weather and crap and everything is like right around the corner, which I'm not, pleased about. I digress. This is not too bad. It's a little bit sweet for my liking. Very malty type of beer. It's a really nice color. I do like that. Yeah, little like warm notes, cinnamon, stuff like that, it's good stuff. And with that, let's see what else Carlsberg and Jacobsen has to offer. Well, as I alluded to earlier, it's actually quite a bit. You can walk through the old parts of the original brewery where you can learn about the history of Carlsberg and the process of brewing beer. They have the largest collection of unopened beer bottles in the world, and Visit Carlsberg is probably the most family-friendly location I visited while in Copenhagen. They have their own mini mermaid and a stable where you can get up and close and personal with the horses, as well as take a free carriage ride. So, that was Carlsberg. Let's see what else the day has in store for us, huh? Well, I was going to go to WarPigs, but I ended up going home and taking a nap because I didn't feel well. Later that evening, though, I went to John's Hot Dog Deli and had a drop of lemon from Amager Brew House. And John's happened to be right next to WarPigs, but no bother, we'll get there eventually. That evening, I went to this place with Nick, Cassidy, and James again, where we also enjoyed their fine sampling of beers. Right next to the bar, though, was this small grocery store called Kiosk, which Nick said we should go and check out. And in the small, low-ceiling basement was an astonishing selection of beer, a hidden gem of Copenhagen for sure. Breakfast the next morning was at Higgenstund, a recommendation from the Three Amigos, also a Mikkeller establishment, and it was just what I needed. American-style breakfast. Eggs, bacon, waffles with warm maple syrup, freshly squeezed OJ, and oh no, that's not coffee. It's not coffee, it's beer. Alright, so now we're at WarPigs. It's a collaboration between Mikkeller and Three Floyds, and we're going to be drinking the Lazaret. It's an IPA, house IPA. It's the one that got everything started, apparently, right? Let's try it out. It's really nice, really smooth, really fruity. A lot of like grapefruit and citrusy flavors, not like overly bitter. It's very nice, well-balanced beer. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we finally made it to WarPigs. Opening in 2015, the brewery and barbecue joint is all about bringing a nice warm slice of American pie to Copenhagen. Texas-style barbecue is what's cooking, and fresh American-style IPAs is what's on tap. Alright, so now we're on to our next beer. It's called Slippery Slope. This is pretty spot on. Very light, very refreshing, mild bitterness, mild maltiness. It's a very good interpretation of a Koelschip. I will say that. Alright, so now we're on to some food here at WarPigs. We have some beef brisket, we have some pork shoulder, we got some spare ribs, mac and cheese, white bread, and a beer. So it smells really, really good in here. Part of it's because of the barbecue, And part of it is because they're actually brewing right behind me right now. So the sound of heavy metal continues to rock on in the background. The smell of smoked, barbecued meat and malted barley fills the air. We are on to our last beer. It's called They Drew First Blood, Not Me. It's a collaboration between Voodoo and WarPigs. It is a New England style IPA. Really mellow, really smooth. It's typical for New England styles. It's quite bitter, somewhat fruity, and not too sweet. Alright, so that was WarPigs. This is a pretty cool place. American style barbecue, American style IPAs, and beer in general. Really fresh, really cool atmosphere. So I don't want to jinx it, but I think that is so far my favorite place in terms of style and atmosphere. But we're not done yet. The last place on the list, BrewPub, a place that makes a story actually quite poetic. See, whereas WarPigs is this grungy, obnoxious older brother jamming out to, well, Black Sabbath upstairs in his room, BrewPub is this quiet and wise uncle sitting in the living room, legs crossed, watching the news and drinking a glass of wine. Or in this case, a Brett Sinclair. So now we're at BrewPub Copenhagen. I'm drinking the Brett Sinclair with the head honcho Jens here. Yeah, let's try it out. Jens, cheers. All right, not bad. It's a little bit sour, but it's also got a nice like maltiness to it. It's not like overly sour. Like we don't have time to do in-depth reviews, especially here, because I literally tried every single beer they had on tap. So let's start with the basics. Jens opened up BrewPub back in 2004, right at the beginning of this whole craft beer trend, if not before. Here the keyword is balance. Beer comes first. It's a brewery. By the way, that's a Cole Porter. Really good beer. But the beer coming out of the tap and the food coming out of the kitchen have to work with each other. There needs to be that balance. Speaking of food, it's a rotating menu, and Jens told me that a lot of dishes either include beer or beer products in the food. And the chef talks with the brewer to create food-beer combinations that will work well with each other. For dinner, I had the fish and chips with an Imperial, probably not the best pairing with fish and chips, but that was the last beer I hadn't tried until the tasters came. First up, a Dunkelweize. Wheat beer, like super weedy, yeasty, banana. Alright, the second one is the Schlager, dark lager. It smells really good. It's like a hoppy, pretty hoppy. Really easy drinking, very smooth. Alright, next beer is the Atlantic. So it's a mix between American style IPA and British style IPA. It's really smooth and really balanced. Also at the end, you're getting like nice maltiness to it. Alright, next one is Geronimo. So this is an American style IPA. Alright, so this one has a lot more like floral, earthy, a little bit bitterer. Alright, so this is the India Dark Ale, dark IPA. Hop notes are definitely there. You get more floral as well. Definitely tasting a little bit of smokiness, a little bit of roasted barley as well. But it's, again, very well balanced. Alright, so that was a BrewPub. The one word I can describe this place is balanced. The beers worked with the food, and the beers themselves, like, nothing was too much. It is one step higher in class in terms of, you know, a lot of the other places I went to this weekend. BrewPub. It's a legit place, guys. You should check it out. Let's go on to the next place of the night, why don't we? Then I was off to Fermentoren, which was recommended to me by Nick and was where I met a few friends from Aachen. A very large beer selection considering the actual size of the place. I had a Dank and Juicy from Dry and Bitter Brewing Company. The name says it all on this one.
Das ist ein Pale Ale oder ein IPA.
As well as a Fudge, an Imperial Stout, also from Dry and Bitter. Then we went back to this place again and spilled a bottle of Figaro from Cascade Brewing Company and closed out the evening, and The Trip. I didn't know what to expect before coming to Copenhagen, but to be honest, it wasn't really one of those kinds of trips. I just wanted to give you guys an overview of the beer culture of the city. I've heard that beer in Denmark is next level, but it really is. And as much as I shared with you guys, there's so much more that I didn't have time for. I can honestly recommend every place that I showed you guys, but I can't really say that there's a best. They're all too different to compare. There are a few places though that surprise me. Koelschip is a place that isn't going to be on anyone's top 10 list. It's too weird a niche, and that's why it surprised me. Even if sour beers aren't your thing, like they aren't mine, Go in there and tough it out through one beer just so you can talk to Dennis. It'll be worth it, and I promise you will learn something. Another pleasant surprise was the beer cellar at Kiosk, an unplanned visit for me, and maybe the fact that it was in the basement of a convenience store made it just that much more cool. I don't know, but the beer selection there was something that I was not expecting. And probably the biggest prize for me for this weekend was BrewPub. They aren't even really a craft beer brewery, I'd have to say, but the beers there are really well made and not as controversial as some of the double juicy, barrel-aged, imperial, hazy, limited release crap a lot of breweries are putting out these days. They know how to brew beer and make food, and they do both of those things very well. But I've only tapped the surface, or keg, that is Copenhagen. I learned a lot, tried a lot of beer, and met some really cool people along the way. I want to thank you guys for watching and everyone else that helped me make this video as well. This was by far the biggest undertaking I've ever done for this channel, and I'd really like to do more projects like this in the future. So please like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, please support common sense gun control legislation, and I'll see you guys next time on Bierlee.